Cesar Keller is here with me today, and Cesar, we've had some conversation about brand personas, about why they're important and what they do, and even how to create brand personas. But I also have this question for you. How do you know, when you're creating brand personas and playing in that world, how do you know how many to create, and how deep do you drill down? I mean, at what point do you say, well, this is enough? And so how do you judge the right amount of effort and development to put into that?
So it's all about how much you can handle and the resources that you have, right? If you have a big team and you have some time to be able to, you got to remember, there's creating the profiles, which doesn't take too much unless you're talking about a lot of profiles.
Okay.
So that's part one. The second part is once you have the profiles, how are you going to organize information to start creating content for each one of them? How much content are you producing in the first place? Because, I think we had talked about the example of, okay, if I have 5 service offerings, I might want to create 5 different types of content based on each service to really drill down. This service is different than all these others.
So that's pretty logical.
So that's pretty simple, right? Well, now if you have, let's say, 10 personas, and those 10 personas are intermingled across 5 different services, that's different than 2 personas across 100 services, across 2 services. So it's really a matrix that you got to figure out on your own, and you got to start thinking, wow, now that I'm committed to this part over here, meaning I got to write content for my products and services, that's a base. But now you're asking me to write content about personas, that's that much more effort and discipline.
So there's a practical sustainability.
It's how much can you handle, and you gotta, I would like to think that if you are talking to personas, you're really creating crafty messages that appeal to them because you're really talking to their pain points. Your conversions should be more optimized.
Okay.
Therefore, if you are getting those results, the effort should be worth it, right? So it really comes down to you got to measure the results. So if you're scared about too much overboard, meaning I'm going to do all this stuff and I don't know if it's going to pay off, why don't you just start with a couple?
That makes sense.
Compare the results of what does my normal landing service page content do with a call to action versus something that we created a specific persona and profile for to try to be a little bit more engaging. And wow, we are getting a lot better results on the conversion of this page versus this page. Then you can start going, you know what? The discipline, the time, the effort, it's worth it. So we just need to start adding and continuing and doing more.
So one of the helpful factors to consider is knowing that you're going to then have to support that persona with content and maybe even navigation structure. So there's a practical consideration there. Then what was the other one? You meant then you got into another aspect, and that was what kind of results are you getting? If you're getting great results with one method versus another, and then you say, well, this worked, so let's maybe try developing another persona and see if that gets us additional great results. Sure. If it doesn't, then you know that's where to stop.
One more, I guess a different way to look at it too is how many variations or how much are you separating your personas? Meaning, wow, these 2 profiles are so close minus one little difference.
Yeah,
that's probably not going to work.
Yes.
But if you have 3 that are completely different people, you're going to get more out of it. So once you start finding challenges to, wow, it's getting harder and harder to break down these profiles, you're starting to get to a diminishing law of returns.
So to create kind of an extreme example, on the one hand, if you're manufacturing hair color for women, you might have Jill, but you've got blonde Jill and you've got brunette Jill, and so that might make sense. But if you're selling automobiles and you've got Sam, and you've got blonde-haired Sam, you've got dark-haired Sam, there's probably not a reason to think about hair color and separate personas that way. That's a little bit of a ridiculous example. But your point is that there needs to be enough logical separation between the personas for there to be a distinction?
Yeah, another analogy would be, so I'm a golf nut. I play golf all the time. And, there's golf people at all different levels, right? So you have, let's say, someone who is a scratch to a 3 handicap. And then you have a 15 handicap. And then you have beginners that have never played the game, but they played once, they got hooked on it. Those are 3 big levels. But if you're trying to go, I'm going to market to the 5 handicap, and then I'm going to market to the 2 handicap, that might be a little close.
Right.
So, it's just common sense.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Cesar, thanks for sharing with us today.